Erin.
Yes.
People talk about you as an eco-renaissance woman, as the face of the new green generation, and you talk about yourself as a rabble-rousing optimist. Tell us a little bit about how you got your start being a voice for the millennial generation.
Well, it goes back a whopping 22 years to when my mom was pregnant with me, and she read a book called Diet for a Poisoned Planet. And my dad went to work one day, and he came home, and she had completely organicized the entire house in a day. And we're from the Bay Area, where this wasn't the norm in '91, but it was certainly far more common than it would be anywhere else in the world. And that was quite literally the world into which I was born, where everything that surrounded my life, everything I came into contact with, from food to body care to actually the products in the rooms in my home itself, was eco, sustainable, recyclable, renewable, call it what you will, non-toxic. And I went to school. My mom in kindergarten found me telling somebody why I brought cherry tomatoes that were organic and weren't sprayed, and I knew the farmer, and I brought them in a little bag that was reusable, and I was that freak. I was that kid. But I didn't know any better, and progressed about 10 years, a study came out that showed Marin County had the highest breast, prostate, and melanoma cancer rates in the world. And there was a study done, nothing correlated. Was it water? Was it demographics? No. So what is it? What is it that we're doing to our bodies every day, this burden? And I read a study, I was 13, about the link between ingredients in personal care products and cancer birth defects and reproductive harm. And suddenly, this whole health movement, environmental movement, was very real, was very personal. And I had lip gloss in my pencil case as a 7th grader. And I used Herbal Essence shampoo because that's what Britney Spears said to use. And yes, that's my generation, that's who you're talking to. And I wanted my peers to know, and I think there's a beauty in the naivete of youth. I mean, still at 22, at 35, at 70, but at 13, what did I have to lose? Taking on a multi-billion-dollar beauty industry, and it snowballed. It went from personal care to fashion to looking at school campuses as a palette for exploration, really to everything that you come into contact with, living by a precautionary principle. Why do harm to your body, to the planet, if there's another option? And it's really exciting, it's growing. As a now millennial, where's the intersection of millennials and sustainability is sort of where I've existed for the past. We started Teens Turning Green, the organization, 9 years ago. And it continues to grow and astound me every day.
So we'll draw out a little bit more about the incredible work that you've been up to over the last 10 years of your career.
Yes.
But let's set the context a little bit about why we're having this conversation here, why it matters to all of you. Some context, some statistics. Right now, 50% of the global population is under the age of 27. Right now, in the US alone, we represent $1.3 trillion of market power, and that's only growing. We are just really stepping into our market influence. Talk a little bit about what excites you about that, where you see the opportunity in terms of our generation really, really coming into influence.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this, and I'm sure all of you have heard it, that we're sort of polarized. We're either these super active, brand-loving, environmentally aware young people that are ready to do anything to make the world a better place, or we're slacktivists. We don't care. We sit behind our computer screens, and we're completely disattached to anything that's going on in the greater world, for the greater good, for any purpose, any higher connection. So the reality clearly lies somewhere in between those two opposites. I am an optimist. I do maintain hope, and I have seen, because we have grown up in this time where climate change is real, words like natural capital that we were just hearing about, we understand that from a very young age. So what does that mean for us as consumers? Well, what I've seen from my experience in the US and abroad, and I think we'll sort of suss that out, is that we're ready. Our generation wants to do better, both as consumers and as employees, that we understand these problems are real, that they're pressing. but we don't always know where to go. We don't always know what to do. And spoon-feeding us information, also products and practices, is required for us really to shift the way that we're doing things.
So better is a word that you really like to use. I've heard you use it, better, matter. You talk a lot about the opportunity for companies to matter to us.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. What does that mean? I think you hit on some of those stereotypes there, that we're awake, that we're conscious. Equal end of the spectrum is that we're lazy, we're slacktivists, right? Like,
Careless.
what do we care about? What are the values? What do they need to understand in order to reach us?
So, meaningful brands. I'm really fascinated about the way that a brand enters my life, because right now, I like your brand on Facebook, I follow your brand on Twitter the way that I would a friend. So what is it that I expect of you? What is it that I need to know in order to feel comfortable engaging this relationship? Well, it's similar things that I want to know about a friend. It's similar things that I want to know about someone that I let into my life in any intimate way. So, how this idea of values and missions of a company is like ethos of a person. What's your history? What's your family? What's your background? Well, if you're a legacy brand, tell me about it. Where do you come from? And it's this idea, we have so much clutter and so much information coming our way that what I remember is that human connection, those values. So it's the alignment of value and values. But I really, truly believe that we're looking for companies to deliver on so many more categories than ever before, but that connection, that's what makes something worth sharing. That's the content that hits you. And so it makes you want to share it, it makes you want to talk about it, but it also makes you interact with it on a very real and personal level. And that is ultimately what drives, authenticity. I hate this word, but that's a real connection.
So talk about that a little bit, because I bet you that that's something a lot of the people in this room have heard, that not only are we expecting to be engaged in new ways, in mutual two-way interactions, like, what does that mean to really engage us in ways that matter to us, and in ways, what I've also heard you talk a little bit about is a sense that when we're investing our dollars in their products or services, that somehow that's making the world a little bit better, that it's improving our lives and the broader world, because that's something that we care about. Like, give us some examples of that. What does that look like done well? Who's doing that well?
I think, so I spent a lot of time, I lived in Western Africa, and spent a lot of time traveling the continent, and Coca-Cola, brand drop, Coca-Cola popped up with these water stations where they were purifying water. Everyone loved Coca-Cola because of that. Everyone talked about Coca-Cola. People gathered at the Coca-Cola stations. People's lives were tangibly and massively improved because of this water station that was branded with Coca-Cola. But for them, it was this service. And I think you've seen that, somebody at Unilever, Paul Pullman's mentor on hand washing day. Global hand washing day. What does that mean? Well, for people around the world, that means sanitation. That means the end of health epidemics. That's a serious improvement of their lives. What are they using? They're using soap. Who's the soap made by? Unilever. But guess what? They're learning a habit that they incorporate into their daily life. So is it a branded habit? Is it a branded place? Yes. But that is the sort of added value that can't be overlooked.
So is that part of what you're suggesting then in your work of encouraging and working with companies to, does everyone have an opportunity and a responsibility to do that?
Yeah, and you have to look within. I mean, what is it that your company already does? Mine the purpose within. We were talking this article I read about the end of big charity yesterday. You can't just write a check, and I know everybody says this, but really, how can you go back into your supply chain, into your own business? That's the best form of cause marketing that we have.
So let's talk about money a little bit. One of the things that I bet a lot of folks here have also heard is that, in fact, Suzanne Shelton was talking about it just on Tuesday. She was talking about brand huggers. She was talking about actives as the folks of which our generation, I think, is a disproportionately falls in this category of folks who are willing to pay more if you matter to us in a way. What have you seen? Is that true, first of all? And I'd be curious also, based on your international travels, what about millennials in China? What about millennials in India? What are you seeing elsewhere around the world?
So I think that, what is that critical 2%, those people, those leaders in the States or anywhere in the world are the people that you really have to hit with Teens Turning Green. That's certainly who we're targeting. They are influencers disproportionately. They're the most active on social. They're respected. They're talkative. They engage. They're willing to take risks. They're willing to go there to try something and spread the word. So those people, yes, their buying power, from what I have seen, they are willing to spend more.
Right, but that's 2%.
That's
What
right,
about,
that's tiny.
Right.
But in terms of messaging, I think that that's critical. So get that. Then, I mean, there's a lot of people, I think more than price, and price is an issue, accessibility is a massive issue. People don't know where to go. They don't know what to get. It's not readily available for them. And we see that popping up on college campuses all across the US. We do a Conscious College Road Tour. People go to their convenience store. They want other options. They're not there. So they settle for the status quo. Internationally, I think that there is a massive opportunity for brands to enter into this space. I travel sort of with all my trinkets, if you will, always, and I take them out, I show them, I talk about them, I live with them, and people say, what's that? Why is that better? Where can I get it? What is it? Why is it better? Where can I get it? And then they can't get it. So the conversation sort of ends. Or they say I can only order it, but it costs $60, $80 to ship in. When I went to, use another example from Ghana, I went to Ghana and I got there, and I was driving around the city on one of my first days, and I saw all of these plastic water sachets just littering the streets everywhere. I said, somebody's got to be doing something about this. This is like the tree hugger in me. There's plastic everywhere. It's single waste. What's someone doing? And I found this man who had a company, and he was employing Ghanaians to go pick up the bags. He was washing them using reclaimed water, drying them, harnessing the power of the sun, and stitching them back together and selling them. In this business, they collected 10 million sachets in a matter of a couple years. And I went to him and I said, so where's your education component? He said, what? I said, well, I understand that this is your raw material, that you benefit from having this littering the streets, but you're in this for the greater good, as are we all, so what are you doing to change this habit? He sort of shrugged. So I took it upon myself to go around to schools in Accra, and I implemented a citywide recycling program in these schools. But I started it by walking in with a bag to a classroom, and I said, hey guys, and they think like, oh, international aid worker, great. I say, do you drink water? And they're like, yeah. How do you drink water? Oh, the sachets. That's what they're told to do. And I said, well, what do you do after you're done with them? I just got these blank stares. No one had ever made this connection, this cause and effect. That's so simple. But no one had ever drawn the line for them. And they sort of said, I don't know. I said, well, do you ever see them again? The wheels start to turn. Yeah. It was outside my grandma's house in the gutter, and then the rain came and it flooded the property. Oh, I went to the beach and my feet got caught up in them in the ocean. Suddenly, these kids that have never had any sort of environmental education, no green infrastructure, no knowledge of what conscious consumerism is, got it. Visceral response. And every single time, they ran outside and came in with armfuls of bags. What can we do?
So I get that. I love it. I am also very passionate about education. What does that mean for these folks?
It means that you have to go and meet them where they are. There aren't options in the realm that I've seen of mass market, international availability of products that have a sustainable benefit.
Okay, so meeting us where we are, let's talk again then about the difference between North American millennials and millennials elsewhere in the world. Those kids, they're not going to be found on Twitter.
No.
Right? So
but SMS, absolutely. Mobile technology, that little thing, that iPhone, it's not, you talk about digital here, there, wherever. Computers, websites, sure, you can create a great gamification platform. Some people might come.
Let's talk about...
But you have to come to...
Let's talk about being digital natives.
Yeah.
Let's talk about being digital natives. The me generation.
That Time magazine article.
I'd like to say that's not true.
I would too.
Talk about it.
Well, a friend of mine, you guys, selfie. Selfie was the Oxford word of this year. Me, selfie, selfie, selfie. Well, my friend came up with this new thing he's calling an Ussie. And an Ussie is a photo of you with your peers. And I think I've seen that our generation is so much more apt to embrace collaboration. So yes, we have the sharing economy. We recognize limits of natural resources. We also recognize limits of economic resources. Let's be real. We have the most debt, the highest unemployment. I mean, this is, and space. It's so many things. You know, all the problems in the world are sort of going like this, if you look at a graph, like this uptick. And where does that leave us? Well, in the need to join forces. I think you see that in a resurgence of entrepreneurship, people coming together to solve problems. You know, trades.
Wait, you mean like us?
Like you and me.
Wait, like us? Okay, wait, let's take an Ussie. I think it's a moment for an Ussie.
Should we flip around?
And I think because we know that you've all got our backs, we're gonna take it this way and tweet it.
Oh, ready?
Everyone smile. That's it. So talk about that a little bit more while I tweet this.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I think that we're just so much more prone to collaboration. There's not that need for ownership. Maybe it's because all of our lives are out there anyway, so somebody's gonna find it, so we might as well share.
Let's talk about that, the sharing economy, the collaborative economy. There is a lot of disruption that's happening right now around what have been standard business models. What's the opportunity for business and organizations, for that matter, to play to meet us, to capitalize on this new emergence of the way that we're working together and the way that we're leading civilization?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really fun. It's, you know, it's a new frontier. They all are. But for me, it's another way to convince us that you are not just all about a bottom line. Profit's not a dirty word, but I think it's one of the highest percentages I see over and over again, over 90%. Millennials believe that business needs to stand for something more than profit. And I think that a sharing economy is a perfect way to do that. I've seen the example as old as it comes, but the Patagonia Black Friday, do not buy this jacket ad. I've never seen something shared more across.
So what do we want them to stand for then?
Well, my favorite word is good. We talked about this multifaceted good. What's your purpose? I don't really, it's sort of how I feel about, back to that 1 second, but like, what's the largest problem in our world today is apathy. What's the largest problem with corporations is they don't have a purpose. Or you look so far outside yourself to find a purpose, and you ignore the actual DNA of your company. And I just want everybody to get back to basics and to reverse. I think that we uneducate children away from our human instincts, and we uneducate business. You know, business is here to solve a problem. You're here to address a need. But now we're doing so many other things that are polluting that space, literally and figuratively.
What about thinking about us moving away from consumers as employees? What insights can we glean? What's to understand about us as employees, what we're looking for, what we want to be working in service of, how we want to be engaged?
Okay, first, that you have to stand for a higher purpose. We asked about that you have to be open to, social media policies, that we do share everything. Something that I think is often overlooked. So we are, the me generation, and people are saying, we're not even just rewriting the rule book, we're taking the rule book and throwing it out the window in terms of our career, our trajectories and whatnot. There's still a lot of people that are coming up through corporations, my generation, our peers, that are going through that more traditional path, if you will. Not everyone is just totally circumventing it and going a social entrepreneurship or an activist route or whatnot. And I think that we're desperate for mentorship. And I'm, looking around the room right now. I don't know if I'm the youngest person, but I'm certainly among the youngest person. But there's a lot of me that are sitting back in all of your offices that have a lot to offer. We have skill sets that are in our blood that have never been in a generation of entry-level employees in history. But we also have a lot to learn. And there is a respect, an intergenerational respect. And it's beautiful. And I'm really excited about that prospect of partnership and mentorship and sharing.
So what does it look like then? 15 years from now, we meet back here. We're both running something. We're sitting on this stage and we're talking about how we got it right. both in terms of working together across generations and both in terms of our market influence. What does it look like to you? What are you working for? What is that vision that wakes you up every day knowing that we can get it right, Erin?
So I'm an eternal optimist, right? I really do believe that we can do it right from the start, that it's up to us to educate younger people. So education is paramount. What are you doing for people that are less than half my age? You know, my favorite thing is to work with elementary and middle school students. That is the hope. That's the future. So how are we influencing them? I want to come back here and know that those kids, you know, the kids that are 15 in 15 years, that they know it's possible, that we've done it right. Righter. It's an ever-evolving path, right? I'm really hopeful about women. I think that a shift, a growth in power, in equality, and equal pay, equal opportunity, positions of power will therein change the world. I'm excited to hear Christopher and Jessica talk next because I think that that is truly a fundamental game changer. Integration is a word, we were talking about visionary leadership and integration as two themes.
Not into either of those things.
That we're really excited about. A visionary leader can change the world. That's the spark that all of us need. And integration, how do we take all of these interdisciplinary efforts and merge them, but also integrate them into our lives? That relevance and that really tangible accessibility.
Let's get it done.
Thanks.